This movie is about Gotham City and a Constantine Batman, and the arrival of Doom in the city. And there's Lovecraft's monster too. Wow. Hey guys, how are you? I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to talk a little about this Batman animation so different and unusual, and for those of you who don't know me yet, I'm the Monio, the interdimensional demon that talks the most about DC animated movies on YouTube, and you are on my channel. This film takes place in the 1920s, and we see a Batman who has just made his pilgrimage for years to perfect his skills. The film begins with Bruce Wayne's expedition in Antarctica, and soon he finds, in a frozen cave, the version of Mr. Freeze from that universe, and he is clearly not normal, so he talks about a creature with tentacles that is trapped in the ice, and that is altering the DNA of the creatures around him. He soon deduces that the creature has telepathic powers already, that it starts messing with his mind, and so he decides to blow up the cave and lock the creature up, fearing what it might do if it escapes. But the Monio, so it's a movie about aliens, maybe mutated creatures that infect other beings. And I tell you, actually the movie is about magic and the occult. Yes, I was also confused at first. The premise of the film is that Thalia al Ghul and her father are part of a cult of black magic, who are trying to find a book that has the power to bring a Lovecraftian monster to our dimension, and this somehow has to do with the Wayne family past. This story is based on a comic that was written by the creator of Hellboy, and that's why the plot is so peculiar. Unfortunately, the animation doesn't have a drawing style that tries to imitate the trait of the comic, which is full of personality. In the animation the style is kind of generic, but still, it can be said that it is one of the most interesting Elseworlds of the Batman stories that have been animated. Despite being very unknown, it seems that it has reached a point where after Batman A Long Halloween, all the classic Batman stories have been animated, and now they are starting to use some unknown comics. The only classic Batman comic that I can remember that hasn't been animated yet is Batman Arkham Asylum, but I believe this one won't be animated, because it's a very peculiar trait and very difficult to transform into animation. But the Monio, you just said that this movie doesn't follow the visual style of the comic, so isn't it just doing this one you said without using the line? And I tell you, in this case no, because in Batman Arkham Asylum, Batman is infected with the Scarecrow's fear gas, and what we see is in Batman's vision, who sees everything as if it were a hallucination, and that's why they would have them imitating art to adapt, since it is part of the narrative. Anyway, I'm already deviating a lot from the subject. Returning to Batman Doom, one of the coolest things about this film, besides the unusual premise, are the characters from the Batman universe, who have their visuals adapted to this universe, and they are all very cool, highlighting Poison Ivy, who is in a monstrous form, and the Two Faces, who are even more monstrous. The only ones that don't have a very nice look are precisely the villainous duo, not because their clothes are bad, but they are the only ones that haven't had modifications thought for this universe. They are just Ra's al Ghul and Thalia that we already know, just with a slightly different outfit. And speaking of differences, one of the big differences between the comic and the movie is that in the comic we had the three Robins as Batman's helpers, and in the movie two of them were exchanged for other characters, who are not very important and are there just to be victims of the villain. And one thing that I found very strange was the Templar Green Arrow. As much as there is in the comics, it just doesn't match Oliver Queen's personality, which is the exact opposite of that. But that's okay, it's an Elseworld, so you can't point this out as a defect. Batman's character arc in this movie is interesting, because Batman has the characteristic of being guided by reason, and always trying to deal with everything around him through logic and science, and here he has a journey in which he has to accept that not only accept that the inexplicable and the mystical exist, but also use this to your advantage to understand what is happening and stop the great evil that is about to arrive in Gotham. And it's really cool to see all the lore of Batman's origin story being changed to adapt to this story and involving other characters like Oliver Queen and Harvey Dent's family in a typical scheme of stories about witches and curses. One of the main defects of this film is the direction, which is a little weak. In fact, the film excites at the beginning with the creature in the cave, and then it becomes a little without rhythm and boring, even in the battle scenes. Already in the third act, many interesting things start to happen, and it seems that in this ending there was an effort by the directors to do different things and to have an ending that is very different from what we are used to with Batman in this third act as a whole is really very good, both for the final villain, which is something very striking, and for the things that happen that are really surprising, being one of the craziest endings in DC animation. If you like DC's Elseworlds animations like Gotham by Gaslight, or Superman Red Son, I believe you'll enjoy this movie, and if you like Constantine and mystical stuff, you'll like it even more. It's a mix of many cool stuff that works as an alternate universe Batman even better than other adaptations. Well worth a watch. And you, did you like the movie? Did you find the ending surprising? Leave it in the comments, and if you like the video, consider subscribing to the channel to follow the next content. Until next time my people, demonic hugs.